And thanks for joining us for this student panel virtual webinar for the Writing, Film, and Media Arts program, also known as WFMA or WFMA at Walnut Hill School for the Arts. My name is Andrew Houlihan, and I work in the admission office at Walnut Hill. I'm joined by three of our current students as panelists from WFMA, who will be introducing themselves to you in just a minute. During this webinar, I'll be asking our panelists questions about their experience with this program. If you have any questions throughout our time together, please feel free to write them in the Q&A box in your Zoom toolbar. So I'd like to introduce our panelists. Panelists, can each of you tell everyone your name, where you're from, and what year you were in at Walnut Hill? Debbie, why don't you kick us off?
Hi everyone, my name is Debbie Shi. I'm from Budapest, Hungary, but my parents are Chinese, but I was born here, whatever. And I'm a current senior, and this is my 4th year in the Writing, Film, and Media Arts department.
Hi, I'm Anna. I am a junior at Walnut Hill. I used to live in Framingham, Mass, and then I moved to Woonsocket, Rhode Island. So I'm having a really long commute when we go back, but it's gonna be okay. And yeah, so it's my 3rd year in WFMA, and I think that's all I have to say. Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Amir Taylor, and I'm a senior in WFMA now, and I'm from the Bahamas, and yeah, is that it? I think that's it.
You got it, that's it. All right, I'm going to kick us off with our first question. So there are 5 different majors at Walnut Hill, but WFMA is our newest and smallest on campus. And so my question to the 3 of you is, what makes WFMA different from any other major at Walnut Hill? Anna, you want to jump in?
Well, when I was first applying to Walnut Hill, I was applying for dance and for WFMA, and then I was going to decide which one I wanted to do, or whichever one I was going to get into, I was going to go to. And then I ended up picking WFMA, and it was really interesting because in WFMA, you kind of get a little bit of everything. Like, I've made dance films that I've been able to dance in, and then also we did a whole songwriting class, and there was a band at one point. Like, we just have everything is going on. Like, you get a little bit of every art because we can animate, which is a little bit of visual art. We do music production, writing, that is music. And then there's a ton of acting going on because we're making movies, and you don't have to act if you're uncomfortable with it, but a lot of times it's really fun. And then I don't know, there's just a little bit of everything, which is really special. And I feel like the other majors don't really get that opportunity. Not that that's a bad thing, because they like to do what they like to do, but I'm happy that I get to do a little bit of everything in WFMA, which is really awesome.
Thank you. Debbie or Amir, do you want to jump in? Debbie, go for it.
Yeah, so I kind of thought something similar as Anna, because to me, WFMA is really versatile, and I think we have a lot more agency over our projects than other departments do. I think our teachers are really special because they really support us in, they don't tell us what to do necessarily. They just give us prompts in each class, and really your art is just where you take it instead of relying on the direction of your teachers. But sometimes direction is good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say with the teacher part that Debbie touched on, I like the department because of the hands-on or the one-on-one contact that the teachers can give you. Last year we weren't able to do it this year, but last year we had a release party, like a project release party, and that's where we submitted our pieces to a bunch of different websites. I think sorry, competitions. I think it was Scholastic, Young Arts, poetry competition, film competitions, and before we could submit it, if you wanted to, you had feedback from the faculty, and they were able to revise your work with you and help you to prepare it and just give you honest feedback, but at the same time respecting your notion to your art. and what you want to do with it, and not just telling you that this needs to change, this needs to change, and it must change for us to send it out. But definitely respecting the way that you want others to perceive your art. And the best part about it as well is that when we submitted it, the department paid for it. So every fee that we needed to submit it, they paid for it, every application fee. And the definite one-on-one contact with the teachers, and it's not so hard. And I think that's because of the department not being oversaturated, that everyone can stand out and be in their own lane. That's the best part of it.
That's awesome, Amir. Debbie, take it away.
Amir's speech, not speech, Amir's comment just made me think of something else that I agree with him completely, and also that I think since we are the smallest department, we are also like really close. Like I can genuinely say that every single person in the department I'm really good friends with and I know pretty well. So like classes and all the events we have are really fun because it's kind of just like hanging out with your friends.
Anna, you're nodding. Do you want to add anything, or are you good?
I also agree with Debbie. Since the department is kind of small, I kind of know everybody. And when I was a freshman, I was the only freshman, and I had all my classes with like all the sophomores, which was scary at first, but I'm kind of glad that I got to do that because now I'm like friends with everybody. Like I got to like be put right into like people who were already there. And so I got to like learn a lot about what was already happening, and it was like super easy to like make friends, and it was really nice. Everybody's so like kind, and so it was just really easy for me to get like comfortable in the major, and yeah, it's really nice.
That's great. Thank you, guys. So what kind of classes are offered through the program, and what's your favorite class, or what's kind of like pushed you the most out of your comfort zone artistically?
Okay, I'm gonna say that the classes that I can remember off the top of my head that I think that we've all done at some point. We have screenwriting and playwriting, and then we have poetry, then we have modern media and film production, then we have there was a new one that is digital photography, and then we have darkroom photography. Then we had some new ones added on this year, that the perks of that was because we were remote, we can do newer stuff, which was 100-word prose seminar, I believe that one was. And then we did a writing through experience class. And then we did, I think is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. Is that it, Debbie?
Uh, there's like some other ones that are like game designed and like
Yeah.
when you're a freshman, you have to take. Do this? I think freshmen still take like creative writing foundations as well as film foundations, but Amir pretty much got them.
Yeah. But in terms of favorite for me, I'm gonna say that the two that I like are writing through experience. I like that one because the work that I've made, some pretty deep stuff. I don't really write about a lot of deep stuff, but just the versatility of what I've made in that class and the writing, that even Debbie has helped me to like, she did some voiceovers on my work last year. And that one is pretty good because of the depths of the writing that we go into. And then darkroom photography, I think that's a favorite among the whole department because everybody's working, doing their own stuff, having fun, listening to the music in the what's it called, in the dark room, and having partners to team up with, sharing your work with other people. So I think that's like a favorite among everyone else. What about y'all?
I definitely also really like darkroom. That is probably my favorite class and will be my favorite class for like ever, because before coming to Walnut Hill, I had never been in a darkroom before. And okay, this doggy is okay. I'd never been in a darkroom before, which is like, it was so cool to like be in one, because you see them like in the movies and like in the TV shows and stuff, but they're so sick, and like you get to like it's so interesting to watch your like photo being developed right in front of you. It's so cool. I can't wait to go back into the dark room. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite class. Oh, and I also really like my sophomore year, I did a modern media class where we made radio dramas. So we were like editing just like voice and like sound effects, and that was so fun. And I had never thought to like do something like that, but it was so interesting to like get to be able to do that. And we like listened to a bunch of radio dramas to like get to know what they were like, and it was really interesting and I really enjoyed it.
My favorite class would probably be, I believe, screenwriting with Ronan. I'm not biased or anything, but he's one of my favorite teachers I've ever had. He's really funny and smart and stuff like that. So I've taken screenwriting, I believe, like 4 times, like one time each year that I was in the department. But I think why it's my favorite class is that Ronan brings something new into the class every time I take it. So yeah, it's my favorite class of all time.
And I wanted to plug in the songwriting class we did in our sophomore year, me and Debbie's sophomore year and Anna's freshman year. We did that at the ending of the year. And I just like Anna said that she loves dancing and film at the same time. And she was able to like clash the two together. I love music and film at the same time, and especially the writing aspect of it. And we did a songwriting class and we came up with a bunch of funk lyrics. And we worked with, this really successful producer. His name is Luis Restro. He's like my musical mentor now. But we work with him, and the recording studio was just, we went in there and it was only just a piano and just wide space. So all of us were sitting on the floor. And now it's a full recording studio with mics and pianos and drums and everything. And we came up with melodies to our songs and made them songs, and we performed some of them on telethon. We made a whole band out of the songwriting class, and then we performed at the New Ink Rough Cuts with Debbie's hit song that she wrote. It's called Kill the Lights. You should buy it. But that's definitely one of my favorite classes too, because you get to clash two things that you like, mix it together. Yeah.
So it sounds like, Anna, you were the only freshman in your class when you came to Walnut Hill, which is a pretty big thing to take on. And Debbie, you mentioned game design and sort of freshman foundations. What's, to you three, the biggest difference between being underclassmen and upperclassmen, like the difference between those classes? Is there a difference?
Well, right now we're not divided anymore into like freshman, sophomore, and then junior, senior. We used to be divided, but I don't really know. I guess now it's kind of like everybody just kind of learns everything. But before, I guess it was kind of like if you were freshman, sophomore, and you were in playwriting, you were learning kind of like how to navigate the software that we're using and kind of like, you know, the 6 elements of playwriting. Whereas like when you're a junior and a senior, you kind of already have those like foundations. So it's easier to like go and like learn more complicated things and kind of like expand to like other, like as a junior I did soundscape playwriting, and as a freshman I was learning how to use like the software. So it's really like like everybody and what they are now and what they need to know.
Debbie or Amir, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. The division in the department based on the grades, like Anna said, that's one of the differences that I think we have. It's just the division, and Anna touched on the different things that we were learning as well. I think now as seniors, we're more given more of the, maybe because we've learned, I don't want to say everything there is to learn about playwriting or screenwriting, but those classes specifically, I think that because I kind of gathered so much that we are given more of an opportunity to not just write a few pages of a scene that we're told to do. We can carry out the project. So like Debbie writes like 14, 16, 20 pages all the time because she gets in so in depth into what she does. And then last year or this year, I believe, I wrote like 25 or 30 pages of a whole play that I'd done, and they're not really done, but they're close to it. So I think that as seniors, I think we just carry on more and not just worry about the specific prompts that we get. And as the lower classmen, I think that they just work on things that they're learning at the moment.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So I think there isn't really a big like there's some difference, but I remember when I was a freshman, that was a long time ago now. When I was a freshman, all the classes were mixed, and like they are right now. So there'd be like underclassmen and upperclassmen together in the same class. So I think there isn't really the only difference is like a little bit like skill level, but not really like there isn't really any clicky stuff. Like people are all friends anyway. And I know that when I was younger, I learned a lot from from my seniors who were in WFMA. So I think mixed classes that we have like right now um, are pretty are pretty great because I get to meet like all of the other like underclassmen and things like that.
That's awesome. Oh, Anna, do you want to add something?
Yeah. I also want to add on to what Debbie was saying about like mixed classes. The art that I'm seeing from like the new freshmen and the new sophomores is like mind blowing. Like it's so wonderful, and I'm so glad I'm able to like hear it and like watch all of it because like it's so inspiring. Because like as a freshman, I definitely wasn't doing that kind of stuff. Like the freshmen now, I'm like really inspired by them, and I'm really glad that I'm able to like have the opportunity to be in their classes. And like we kind of both, like the upperclassmen and the underclassmen, like teach each other because we all have like our own strengths. And so I'm really glad that we're doing that now, because I mean, not that it's bad to be split up, but I think the opportunity of being with people who are like very different in age is really helpful in like learning. So I'm really liking that right now. So I thought I'd put that out there.
Love that. Thank you for adding that. So speaking of other freshmen and other students around you, are you allowed to be friends with other people from other majors at Walnut Hill? Talk about that a little bit. Debbie, you want to go first?
Yeah, it's just a funny question, especially because like all three of us have been on Walnut Hill for quite some time, so we really know that how it works. Kind of like everyone is friends with everyone. Like your major at Walnut Hill really isn't a barrier. Like like on the weekends, you just see like everyone hanging out. Well, at least last year, because this year there's social distance. But you could see like, I mean, when you look at someone, that you really see like who they are as a person, not necessarily their major. It's not really important at all. And plus, in the mornings, we're all in like the same academic classes, so you have opportunities to become friends with other majors. The only difference I think is like what you do in the 3 hours in the afternoon.
Anna or Amir, do you want to jump in? Amir, you want to go? Anna.
Okay. I love the fact that I can hang out with people in different majors because I look at the things that the visual artists make, and like I watch the theater majors sing. What? How are you able to do that? It's so cool. And I'm like so happy we get to take our academic classes like all together. And like I have friends in every single major, and all of them are so talented. And I'm so happy I get to like experience all their talent, and it's wondrous. And then also you can have all your friends who are good at like different things be in your film and like have different parts of their like talents like in your film. Like you could have your visual art friend make like a prop or something, and then you can like ask your theater major friends to act in your films, and it is fabulous. And then you get all of these like moving pieces and all these talented people to like work together and create, and it's so awesome. Like it's just so awesome.
Yeah, and with that, you can be with everyone, especially because in the mornings, well, last year because there's not much this year, but in the mornings, my to sit with at breakfast with theater majors because they talk a lot, but they're really funny at sometimes, and they joke around, and they just have good conversation. Even though like I'm more reserved than them, I don't really get in much of the conversation. They're pretty cool people to hang with, so that's my like go-to morning crew to sit with for breakfast. So that's just mingling with other people outside of your major, and you don't feel chastised because of that. Or it's like, oh, you're switching up on us because you're sitting with them. You know what I mean? But even with, like Anna said, everybody is so talented, and you can have them in your pieces, and just things that a lot of my darkroom photography projects, like the whole reels, I just shot of people from different majors, and they've been my models for the project to take pictures of. So you definitely can be with other people outside of your major.
So each of you have kind of talked about different collaborative things you've done with each other in the department and across campus. Can you talk about some of the events that you all do together? I know, Anna, you talked about people doing your film. Um, Speak to like your favorite event from last year or the past couple of years, what you've been doing, that kind of thing. Anyone can jump in.
So so we have three I'd say like large, semi-large, semi-formal events during the year. Usually our first one is in October and it's called New Ink Rough Cuts. And sadly that hasn't happened this year, but every year before it has been happening where WFMA show like their in progress work. So the work is supposed to be imperfect and it's kind of supposed to like show like the writer or filmmaker or photographer's process on the way to making their art more like complete. Yes, and then in January we have this project, this like month-long project because not because where people are teamed up, usually like one underclassman WFMA and one upperclassman WFMA, and they have like 4 weeks to make a film, which is kind of like a tight schedule and restraint. And last year, for the first time, each team had like I think like $100 to like order stuff from Amazon, and I think that's pretty cool because we never got like a chance to use props before or like props that we actually ordered ourselves. Usually, we'd be restrained to like what the school has, but last year we really got to expand and I think like my team got like a disco ball to make a cool background for a film. I actually like that a lot. And then our last event is usually in April, mid to late April, and it's called Black on White. It's definitely the most formal one where each WFMA presents like a finished product for the entire school, and it's called Black on White because actually I don't know why, but we can only wear black or white like in our attire. Yeah.
I think it might be called black on white because it's like writing and it's like text on white paper. Maybe.
I that makes sense. I never knew that.
Electoral.
And then in sophomore year, which was Anna's freshman year, we did out of the songwriting class, not just to keep going back to that, but I love it. But out of the songwriting class, we did this thing where we wrote finished songs. So we finished whatever song that we wanted to write of any genre, of anything that we wanted to, any song. And we gave it over to composers, whether that just be music composers, pianists, violinists, whatever, or even theater majors that sing, or anyone in the campus, matter of fact, that just sing or do music or want to experiment with it. And we handed it over to them, and we had this event. I think that was the first time we had that event, because I don't think we had it since, but we had an event in the dance studio where the composers came and sung our songs and played our music. And it was just a wide, very different type, even things that we didn't even hear in the songs that they heard themselves, like different genres. They might have turned our blues song into a pop song. We did that. So that was a really good experience. Thanks to Nikki Conrad for that one.
That's great. Does anyone else want to add anything before we go to something else? All right. So there are a lot of families and a lot of potential WFMA applicants that are going to be watching this, and you, all three of you, have accomplished a lot since you've been at Walnut Hill and done a lot. What advice would you give to someone coming in applying who is maybe a little nervous about the film stuff and is a really big writer, or vice versa, or sort of interested in everything but hasn't had a lot of experience? What would you tell them? Anna, go ahead.
So I am not a writer. And so when I came here, I was like, okay, so I'm going to come and I'm going to do film. I'm going to take some pictures and it's going to be a vibe. Then they were like, no, you got to take a writing class too. And I was like, what? And then, and then I was like, hold on, wait a second. Might be a good idea because then I get to be more versatile, which is really awesome. And I thought when I joined and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to take a screenwriting class. Like, are you kidding? I don't have any ideas. I can't write anything. But it's so like everything is kind of related, like whether it's poetry or if it's literally like making like a documentary, like it's all related, it's all a story. And like I'm have an idea for a film in my head and I'm unable to like make it because I don't have like the resources. I can just write it down in like a screenplay and then there it is. It's art. It's there. It was in my head and now it's not anymore. Now it's an actual thing. So you have to think about it like maybe it's not my strong suit, but I'm learning so much. Like once I'm in the real world, I'm not going to be like, oh, like I only need to do film. Like I can't do anything else. You want to like be able to open yourself up and like be able to do a little bit of everything. Like I am not a music person. Going back to the songwriting class, there's no musicality in me, like, but I was still able to take that class and be like, you know what? I can relate this to things that I like to do. And this is like in any other situation, like I would never have been in a band. Like, what? But then I got to experience like being in a band and like singing my own song in a microphone. I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. So definitely like you have to expand what like even if it's kind of like your weak spot, you should try it out because it might be something that you really like to do, because I never would have thought that I like to be singing an original song in a microphone, but now it's kind of fun. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting to try out different things. Yeah.
Debbie or
Okay,
Amir?
so my my experience is kind of like the opposite of honest. Like I always saw myself as like a writer. When I applied to Walnut Hill, I wrote like a lot of cringy fiction that I submitted. But yeah, so I never even touched film or like and like I used to make like iMovies, but I didn't find that really fun. So film and photography have never been like my thing, so to speak. But when I got to Walnut Hill, it was kind of similar to Anna's situation where I learned that I have to take like quite a few film classes. And at first I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do now? Like I don't know how to use Adobe, like the editing software Adobe use. But soon I basically just actually started enjoying it. And I didn't know how to screenwrite either. I only knew how to write like fiction and barely any poetry. But like now I feel like I have at least a grasp and I'm confident on a lot of new mediums like screenwriting, playwriting, and I mainly see myself as a poet now, and I don't really write fiction or prose anymore. So I think what's really awesome about having to like engage in a lot of different mediums is the fact that you can find something else that you're really interested in, or like you never know what's going to happen after 4 years. Like you could completely transform from like a filmmaker to, I don't know, singer. Why do we always go back to the singing? I'm tired of it. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go to speak to Debbie's point about evolving. You might not always know what you're going to end up as or what you're going to end up liking. Like Debbie thought that she wanted to do just maybe films, I think she said, and then she turned out to be a poet. I had this similar experience where I was like, "Oh, I'm coming here to be a playwright." And I like screenwriting as well. But I love those things. Those are on one side of me, but I really find myself more and more liking the creative writing pieces that I create, especially in writing through experience and the prose seminar. I really love working with Margaret on the creative writing side of it, and I think that you can just come and you have to they give you an opportunity to try everything before you say I want to hold on to this one thing, and they're not going to chastise you or scold you for saying, well, I only want to do poetry, or I put poetry on this high pedestal in my life. They will totally give you that chance, and especially going back to submitting pieces in any competition that you want, they will actually come to you and say, hey, I know you like poetry, so there's this poetry competition coming up. But the chance that you have to just try out everything and just not be afraid to try everything, and then you'll find out what you like more, and it's not always what you come in thinking you like.
That's awesome. Anyone else have anything else to add? That's great. You guys all had great points. Thank you for giving all that advice. So obviously we're in a strange time right now where we're all over Zoom and not in person with all the families that we're talking to. And yet you are all still part of Walnut Hill, even if you're not in person, and still doing projects and taking classes. Why do you personally, why did you choose to come to Walnut Hill, and why do you keep choosing it? Who wants to go first?
Youngest first.
Oh, Anna,
Okay.
John.
I chose to go to well first I was applying to like dance schools everywhere. I was like, because I'm a dancer, I dance a lot, and I was like, I want to dance. That's what I want to do. So I was applying to dance schools all over the US. And then we found Walnut Hill, and it was like 30 minutes from where I lived, and there was a film program too. And I was like, wait a second, maybe I want to do film, because I've also been making films like my whole life, but just kind of like as a like just like a fun hobby, like what I do. And then I also have like a YouTube channel. So I've been editing for a really long time. And my mom was like, hey, maybe we should like actually try this out. And I was like, that is a fabulous point. So then I auditioned for Walnut Hill. I saw like everything they have to offer and how like diverse the art is, and like how everybody's doing kind of like a little bit of everything. And it's just really awesome. And also a really big part for me about Walnut Hill was being given like financial aid, which was like a fabulous thing, because there's no way I would have been able to go to private school, like no way. And I was given really like a really great opportunity to go, and I was like, yep, this is the one. This is going to be great. And I also cannot imagine myself at like a public high school. Like, I don't think I could do it. I'd be way too scared. I can't. But like, yeah, no, I'm really happy I'm here. There's not that many people, so that's great. I like don't really like large groups of people, and everybody is kind of like everyone's so nice. And I think that's really awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Anna. Debbie, go for it.
I just want to say that Anna's actually YouTube famous. Like, she went viral like 3 or 4 times. Like, she's on my TikTok For You page all the time. She's
Yes.
actually famous. But other than that, the reason I chose Walnut Hill was because, well, actually, my elder sister was also a WFMA before me. She was a freshman. No, she was a senior when I was a freshman. So I was still in Hungary going to like international school while she was already at Walnut Hill, and she spent like 3 years there. So I knew a lot about Walnut Hill because she'd come back and like tell me all the funny stories about Walnut Hill. So when I was in 8th grade, I believe, I was also looking at like writing programs, and I applied to a couple of like art schools throughout the states, I think, and also like other regular schools. But the reason I chose Walnut Hills was because I visited campus, and I already felt familiar with it. Maybe like because obviously my sister was already a junior by that point, but also because my tour guide, Ella, was super nice to me, and all the other tours I had were with like I think like 4 or 5 families, so it felt really unpersonal, in person. I don't know, impersonal. So yeah, basically like at Walnut Hill, I already felt the kind of like the closeness of the community, and also the campus is really nice, and like windy and stuff. So I was like, this is it. I love the East Coast. Yeah.
Thanks, Debbie. Amir, you want to finish us off?
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna pour my heart out, but here it goes. Um, so I in the Bahamas, there's not very many opportunities for artists. There's quite a few for athletes, but not really for artists. That's kind of on the back burner of kind of the Bahamas and the government and whatever. So there's not very many artistic schools to go to and have a community where art is embraced. It's just like on the side, you know. And I just came to the school because I feel like I've never seen a school or community where art is put on a pedestal and you're honored with the title of being an artist. Like everyone calls you an artist here, and I think that's such an honor to have because I feel like artists don't really we don't always like to call ourselves artists because maybe we feel like that title is too sacred, but you kind of you're given that title, and I feel like that's really cool. And then there are I've been given opportunities at the school to do much more things than I would have in the Bahamas. Like I can come here and do film, and then I can come here and sing in the telethon, or I can write songs, or we're doing senior projects now, and everybody's doing such different stuff, and I'm trying to merge music with writing and doing a lot of songwriting. And the director of artistic studies reach out to me and say, hey, we want you to use the recording studio. And I think that's so awesome because that's ways being made just for you to enhance your art and do what you want to do and do what you like to do. And where else do you see other people doing that, just giving that to 15 and 16 and 17 year olds, just saying, hey, we want you to come here and use our facilities and make your art. And that's crazy amazing. And then the admissions staff and the faculty, I'm always in the admissions office all the time. I think they're tired of me sometimes, but I haven't been this year. But just the opportunities, like Anna said, the financial aid, like there's no way that I could be able to. Sometimes I don't even think I'm deserving to be here, but the admission staff kind of make provisions for us to keep going and to keep on making art and to keep on coming to the school. And especially you have an opportunity to come and stay here to impact the campus and just be a leader. Like we have different affinity groups. There's always more stuff to work on in the school. And like the Black Student Union, and we have Latinx group, the Asian affinity groups, and you always have things to just impact the campus and other students and get together with people that are just like you and just be a leader outside of the official leader roles, you know, just make up a lane for yourself. So I think that is the reason why I'm here and why I stay here. And thank you for that.
That was awesome, Amir. We're ready to hire you in the admission office once you graduate. You're not going to college.
Thank you.
Well, we've come to sort of the end of our time here. Do any of our panelists want to share anything else before we wrap up? You guys feeling inspired by Amir? No? Okay. We're all inspired by you. In any case, thank you to the three of you to dedicating some time to us today, and to all of our applicants for WFMA. Everyone who's out there who's watching us, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to the admissions staff here, and we can actually connect you to some of the faces you see here who can give you more details. You can always visit our virtual open house on our website, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you on campus next year. But for now, we will sign off and say goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.